Everybody, I got a guy on the channel. He got people helping him to make this video even better. He got a museum in his name, and he's gonna show the museum. It's incredible, and I'm so excited that he has decided to come on Strong Inspirations, where I know he gonna give it to you straight, no chaser. Everybody, there's no question that it's not gonna happen. You are at the right place at the right time. My name is Anthony Brogdon. I'm the guy that just asks the questions and find the people, and I let them do the talking. So before we get started, you know I'm gonna ask you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notifications bell, and tell somebody about Strong Inspirations, because this is where we're gonna give you some good Black history. And if the story is not so good, we tell you how we overcame. I'm gonna leave you on a good note. That's what I want to do. And I'm just, I don't know what to say. Man, this is good stuff. I got this guy agreed to go on my channel. I'm so happy. But before that, I want to let you know that I got a movie out called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. Slaves went to college. Black millionaires in the 1800s through the 1960s when we stopped talking in this movie. We cover a bunch, 75 minutes long. It's good. And it's on Amazon. And then I wrote the book, Black Business Book. The movie got interviews with people whose families started a business in the early 1900s. The book doesn't have the interviews, but it has more facts. So it really complements the movie very well. But you can get one or the other, get both of them, get something from Strong Inspirations. Black Business Book. Now the book, the movie is on Amazon, but if you want to, you can go and learn more. Go to my website, businessintheblack.net. All right, you're at the right place at the right time. I'm gonna say that slogan a little bit every now and then now. And so let's get it on. I got the guy, he's sitting there, he ready to go. Sir, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I am James Jack Hadley, and I am I'm here in Thomasville, Georgia. I run the founder of the Jack Hadley Black History Museum here in Thomasville, Georgia. However, what I normally do, I'm a sibling of 14 brothers and sisters here, and we're all scattered over the country, but we began to migrate back to Thomasville, Georgia as the older we get, which I did something like 35 or 40 years ago, came back. Little bit about myself.
Before you go there, where is Thomasville?
Thomasville, well, it's Southwest Georgia. If you got on 75 headed south, you get off it at Valdosta, Georgia. If you come across country from on Interstate 10, going through Tallahassee, Florida. I'm 35 miles north of Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
And about a 5-hour drive from Atlanta, Georgia, going southwest.
Yeah. Now you were born there, may I ask?
I was born in Thomasville, Georgia in 1936.
Ooh, yeah.
And I lived my dad worked on Pepper Hill Plantation. And let me just flip this slide right here. That's my dad here. And my mom, I'm the last 5 or 6 siblings that lived in the house on the plantation.
Hold on, let me stop you there. So your dad lived on a plantation that was owned by the white man?
Yeah. Let me tell you about Pepper Hill Plantation, which is located 7 miles from Thomasville, at the south. The Northerns came down here in 1891, and they bought a lot of the plantation in this area and made honey plantation out of them. I'm not saying that there was not slave plantation back in 1825 when Thomas County was fine, which they all were, but the Northerners, these were rich people, industrial people, came down and bought these plantations dirt cheap because, you know, after slavery and the time went along, people could not afford to maintain them because they had no more slaves to work on the plantation. But my father would start working at Pepper Plantation somewhere around 1920 or 21. And they provided a home on the plantation for all the people that lived there, that worked on there, probably 50, 60 families. And they provided 2 schools on the plantation. We attended schools there from grade school up to the 7th grade. And this picture you see here that I'm showing, and that's my mom. And to the center of the picture there, she became a beautician. And after all the kids was out of born and little small, the baby was about a few years old. But the picture in the top there is when that's the last picture we took in 1946, before my dad decided to buy a home into the city and to have a home for the family, because he knew age was creeping up on him and that he didn't want to leave his family on the plantation. So, but he continued to work there for the next 53 years.
Now, when you say plantation, this was after slavery. Why couldn't it have been called something else?
Well, I wish I could answer that question for you, but that's a name that even they use it today as a plantation. Some people converted it to call a farm, farm. But my grandfather, he had a farm, and he was born a slave in 1822 and died in 1910. But as a freeman in 1865, he had saved up enough money, something like $800 to buy his own property. Because his father was a slave master, Simon Hatton Sr., who gave him special privileges as a little boy. He got a bullhorn. My grandfather used this bullhorn here. Let me see if I find it real fast. That bullhorn right here is what my grandfather used in 1865. From the time he was a young man, young boy, a teenager, right up until he was freed in 1845. That bullhorn been in my family. What he used that bullhorn for, the slave master Simon Hatton Sr. allowed him to blow that horn to wake the slaves up in the morning and call the women in at 10 o'clock to feed the babies, those who had babies in the house. And then he would they would call him, send him back to the field. He did that throughout his whole life as a little boy. He was a mulatto. My grandfather his mom was a slave and his dad was a slave master. So he bought his own property. Money he saved, slave master taught him how to save his money. He let him do little odd jobs. And so he was able to really survive. He bought his land and about 300 acres of land. And some of the land, even today, is still in the family. My dad,
gorgeous, good stuff.
My dad probably he had about 30 acres of it, but he gave it up to my aunt to help take care of my grandmother because of the fact that she lived to be 95 years old.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your grandfather who did this, was he light complected?
He was light complexion. He had straight hair and very light complexion. We don't have no pictures of him, but I guess in this interview I could have brought out some pictures. But my first cousins, you would think half of them are white. That's how they look. That's how close. I got green eyes, and I guess they come from on the white side of my family.
What was the guy who was his father? The plantation, was he a mean plantation owner? Did he mistrust? I mean, did he abuse the people? And your grandfather got some special privileges? How did that work?
Well, if he was an abused slave master, I think the story, you and I wouldn't be having this story today.
Okay.
My father never have talked, his dad never told him any disgraceful that the slave master may have done to him. Everything, it seemed as though that my grandfather, he had privileges that, and the slave master, he was a big slave owner. Now, he was a big owner of slaves, but he treated the slaves with, I guess, with respect. And so all of them, my family was been prosperous because of my grandfather was allowed to do different things and make money on the side and save his money. So we take from that part, and all his siblings have been very prosperous. So there was something about either the genes in the family, or he treated him with respect, and yet he was a slave, he was a slave in the house, but there was no beating, nothing like that been recorded in our system at all, you know. So
how did the other slaves respond to him being so close to the let's say to the master. You know, you wouldn't know that one. I wouldn't suspect.
No, I would. But let me say this, Anthony. Today, there are still some descendants of Simon Hadley Sr. who was married, who to his white kids. They acknowledge that we're kinfolks. They live here in Thomas County. They still live there. They visit the museum here, and so. And then in 2015, we had our family reunion here in Thomasville, not to 2015, 2010, 2007. They took us to the gravesite where Simon Hadley Sr. was buried at. Okay. And we saw the other guy, he was about 90 years old. He took us up in the woods where they were buried at. So anyway, so I'm just saying that the family acknowledge that we're kinfolks.
I got you.
They come to the museum, we visit each other, and I don't, I've been to the house. So it's a situation that if looking at it from my perspective and from where I was raised,
right.
I think if there was some meanness of the slave master, that taste would have fell on through to my dad, and then he would not be as closely with the people that he worked from the plantation. My father, he 53 years out there. And one thing about this lady here, Mrs. Pansy, let me show you that since we're on this subject here. Let me back up in a second.
Yeah.
This lady right here, Mrs. Pansy, her family was very benevolent type family. Now, this is the home in the center there. You're gonna see a little white house. That's the house we was raised in. That house, she built those homes all over the plantation for the black families and the white families. And she built a church there. And then I showed you the big house up there's top where she lived at. I mean, the place where she lived. But one thing about this family, they educated the blacks. All those who wanted to go to college, I got siblings went to college. My dad had to pay nothing. They provided the funds.
Really? Oh man.
So and they had a dairy, the big, you see there's to the left of her, there's a dairy that pasteurized the milk, for the people on the plantation. She had the hunting dogs, she had Jersey cows and racing and polo horses as well. And they would travel back from Cleveland, Maine and Kentucky. And my dad they would travel with them. She had her own private railroad coach that were parked in front of the train station.
Really?
And so they would pack up. And my mom, my older two siblings, who were my oldest one, she's 99 years old today in a nursing home, but she was a little girl. And my brother, who deceased, John Dennis, they were small kids. They was maybe 4 and 5 years old. They would pack up and go with Miss Pants in that coach. And they would stay for the season. And they would come back during the fall with Thanksgiving. So I'm just saying, I say all that. A lot of people say, Jack, why you dwell on plantation? Well, I can't I'm not going to sit here and say that there was no mistreatment of blacks
in
the plantation. But these were northern people. These were industrial people that came down and just during the hunting season, hunt quails and stuff like that. And then they went on back to the northern place up in Maine and Cleveland. And they needed all these people to maintain the plantation. They probably had one little white man with a straw ball, and the rest of the people on the team, on the plantation, they did work, and this was not a plantation that made money on the plantation to survive. They planted wheat, they planted corn they had cows on the plantation, they had horses, but they did not plant something for cultivation to sell 9 times. Even had a pasteurized dairy, had milk, but that was all for the people that's living on the plantation.
Let me ask you this question. How about this one? So when the Civil War happened, what did the guy who owned the plantation, did he go fight for the Confederate or did he leave? What did happen when the Civil War was happening?
Okay, Simon Hadley Sr., well, he was part of the Revolution War. That's how far we go back. Okay. Simon Hadley Sr., whose daughter was Jane Hadley, who owned Pepper Plantation. So that's my white great aunt.
Right.
Simon Hadley Sr., right. But now he fought in the Revolution War. I don't know about the Civil War with these people. All I know that after the Civil War is that the Northerners came down and they bought these plantations and they made a hunting plantation out of Pepper, and most of the plantation around in Southwest Georgia and the surrounding area, most of them was owned by different families that was industrial people. And all I can see even today, they're hunting plantations, except
I got
Pepper
you.
Hill. Pepper Hill is a plantation that it's a museum today. When Miss Panzer died, and I think at the age of 95, 83 or 84 years old,
I
she left
got you.
in her will that it be a museum, and that's what it is today.
Now, maybe I don't know if you answered this question. When you were growing up, were you born on this plantation?
I was born on that plantation there, and let me just flip back to the school.
Let me ask you this question: the
Yeah, go
people
ahead.
that were on the plantation when you were growing up, how did you address them?
Yes, sir. I've addressed them, and my dad. I said my dad would tip the hat to the people. That was what he would do at times, and so you address them as yes, sir, no, sir,
Did
and
you
you
couldn't
respect,
say them by their name?
huh?
You couldn't say them by their name, Mr. So and so, Miss
Yeah,
So and
yeah,
so.
yes. Miss Pansy,
Okay,
Mr. Polk, Mr. Stewart. We even had a nurse on the plantation that took care of all the people that on the plantation. We had a doctor downtown that took care of the people on the plantation, stuff like that.
okay.
So, yeah, and like I said, she provided education for two. We had two schools out there,
So then, when you went to those schools, then after those, could you leave freely? I mean, I know you wasn't in slavery, but you could leave and go where? What if you left there? What was near there that you could do?
okay, on Pepper Hill, uh, we had the two schools, went from the grade school to the seventh grade. Okay. After the seventh grade, and they provided teachers for us. After the seventh grade, then we was very fortunate on Pepper Hill that there was one of the teachers, her husband, Lord Hatley. If you're looking at this picture right now with the
Right.
baseball team, well, the guy that's sitting in front of that with the black suit on, well, that was her husband. He was a chauffeur and a mechanic on the plantation. But she was an educator. She taught school for about 50 years. She had a little truck with benches on the back. She would bring the kids from all the plantation in that round area to school. And you're not talking about a whole lot of kids going to school.
Right.
It was about 7 miles, and she would take those kids to school to finish eighth grade right through high school. And then again, as I mentioned early,
Right.
those who wanted to go to college, it was a matter of a phone call to Mrs. Pansy, and she would finance their way to go to Polk Valley, FAMU, Savannah State, Albany State,
I
and
got you.
for the 4 years. So that's because I guess she had a compassion for the people
I
herself.
got you. I like it.
And she also was the type of person that for instance, that even though things were segregated down in the South during that period of time, but when they built two YMCA's, they built one for the whites and one for the black in the mid-60s. Well, she helped finance the funds for both YMCA to be built. You know what I mean? Because still we were segregated, just like you go downtown, things were segregated. We had our own little downtown area, stuff like that.
Let me ask you this question: as you grown older and matured in life, did you like living like this, or did you wish you had grown up in a big city or somewhere else? Did you enjoy this?
Well, everything goes back to your parents. It's how you were brought up.
I got you.
Now, my dad, let me put it this way. I'm a co-author of a book called African Americans on the Southern Hunting Plantation.
Yeah, we're gonna promote it. Yeah.
I interviewed 16 blacks about how they survived and lived on the plantation. And in this book, they said they lived better on the plantation than the people lived in the city. Okay. I do not never wish I could have left because my life was rich with a big family. My dad always had a job. He took care of the family. He educated and along with the help from the Mrs. Pansy.
I got you.
Taught us how to work.
Love it.
So I never, when I look back on it, I don't regret not one bit growing up
I got you.
and enjoying this living.
Let me ask you this: have you ever been called a nigger?
Have I been what now?
Called
Oh
a
yeah,
nigger?
oh yeah. That has happened. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I've been used. The magic word has been shared upon me
But not by the plantation owners, by other people in the city.
People the people that were just unruly type people. Let's put it that way.
Have you ever seen the KKK?
I've never seen the KKKs, but I do in the Black History Museum here. I do have I got a Grand Wizard capping gown that was gifted to the museum along with other relatives in there. I'll show you that later on if you want to. So, but I never confront who were the KKKs. No, nothing like that. No.
Were white people? How did white people respond to what was going on at your plantation? Because y'all had it a little bit better. Was some white people trying to throw some salt on it to make it worse for you all, or anything like that? Just because they were mad that they were such good folk or something?
Let me answer this question another way.
All right.
When the northern people, in 1891, they brought wealth to Thomasville. They built hotels in Thomasville. They built big homes in Thomasville. They provided jobs to people in Thomasville. So the people had no reason. It was industrial. This city has been a little small city, but it's been a very industrial. So that I've never been in port, never been told that the people did things in it. There are things happened in the city of Thomasville, like any other city in the South. There's segregation that took place, discrimination, stuff like that. That I'm not going to deny that didn't happen. Yes, we had it. We had our own black bottom downtown district where that blacks were patronized at.
I got you.
And I know that my mom, she would go uptown to buy a hat. She had to put paper in her hat to try it on and make sure it fit. I saw all these things. We had separate bathrooms, all that. We lived a segregated life. We lived a Jim Crow era life.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, we had all that. Everything was different. But I'm just saying that we made progress.
I got you.
Progress, because had not all these things happened, you and I wouldn't have this conversation today.
I got you.
And so you got you. But you have people had it rough. Don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not saying my family's a perfect family, but it's a situation where that the things did happen, but people, they survived. People know that when you grew up in that, I don't know where you're from. I don't know where you was born in the South or not, but you grew up in a community that you knew what's right and wrong. And even though during the segregated days, you lived that. That's why this guy published the Green Book. Because there was segregated the Green Book Hotel. We got one in Thomasville.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the museum owned a Green Book Hotel. We was gifted that about 3 years ago, and we were getting ready to restore. But I'm just saying it was built during this day and time, from 1949 to 1969.
I got
you. Hotel, because we could not go to those hotels. Had I known about those hotels in my 20 years in the military, but no, I drove 18 miles, 18 hours to get where I was going from Massachusetts to Thomasville, because there was no hotels for me to stop to. I didn't know about the Green Book. So I'm just saying these things happen. You adapted to it, and even people went north. You know, you talking about going north, going to Chicago during the migration. They went there, but they got in a black community. They didn't went to New York and went to Chicago, and they lived in a white community. Oh, I'm just telling you like it is. They lived seventh grade. I was shocked when I went to New York back in the 60s, visiting family. I'm thinking they all mixed in there. No, Queens, all the different places. They got their own community they lived in.
I got you. I agree. That's true.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I want to focus on the museum that you've gotten. When you were growing up, did you know your place as a black person, that you couldn't walk on the same side of the street? You couldn't look at them. Did you know that? And was that living under that condition? Was that a scary every day?
Not in my growing up. Again, I
got you.
When you live in a community, you grew up under segregated days. You knew your place. You know you don't go drink out the same water fountain that the white people drunk out. You know you had to go down. You could not drink that cool water on the outside. You had to go down in the basement. You know you had to do separate. You know about all these things. I mean, you know, the 1960 when Dr. King, well, let me back up a few minutes.
Yeah.
In some of the pictures, I don't have it on the show you, but
Yeah.
during this, what you're seeing here, the guy on the bicycle, he's doing a buck dance, something on the bicycle, but he probably got a black face on him. We did a black face on the plantation. We climbed because we took it from the white man, not knowing that until Dr. King came along, that was a negative thing against us. And that I have all that in the museum. I got pictures that was done on the plantation. We climbed before the white people. We thought that was just a good, jokey way, not knowing that the whole story behind that until I guess I opened the museum up. Then we started doing research. So then Dr. King came along, all that went in the closet. But today, I've got tons of stuff coming to me because people had in their possession, white people, and whether it's black people, most of the white people, and said, Mr. Hadley, I got this. You know, you may want to put in your, because they come here, they see a Jim Crow section in the museum. You want me to show you the Jim Crow section real fast? You want to wait? I'll show you later.
Did you ever have a white friend?
A white friend?
Yeah.
You to play with?
Yeah.
No, I never had a white friend to play with. My brother did. Now he was growing up. He grew up in the city. He had a white friend he played with. But then when he went off to college, he came back to visit his white friend. They confronted him at the door. Said, "Well, he's Mr. So and so and so." You follow me? My brother, yeah. So my brother might just died a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And he told that story throughout his life. He told a story about when he was a music director of a band out of North Carolina. I think it was Howland, not Howland, but I forget, in somewhere in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And his band was Eisenhower came traveling down south in a parade, and they told me, you can't be in the parade, but you can sit on the side street. And when they performed. But when he got out of it, when the Eisenhower came by, they stopped the parade, and if you want to know why they were stopping the parade, he got out of his car and came over and shook all those kids' hands. The president.
I like it.
So I'm just saying he shared that story because those are the segregated days that we was confronted with until Dr. King came along. That's when we realized the Civil Rights Bill was passed. That's when things began to change throughout the South.
All right.
Even though it's still rough today, but still there was a big change.
Now you became a great man, I'm sure, by the insurgents and the things that your parents did, to where you decided to make something of your life. You wanted something. You didn't want to live on a farm, right?
Well, no, it's not that. I wasn't on a farm. We lived in the city. My dad bought a house in the city.
Okay, so he bought. Okay.
So he bought a house, but he continued to work out there on the plantation till
I see.
But I guess my achievement come along with they want to make sure the kids get an education. In my perspective, I finished high school in 1956, and I joined the Air Force 2 weeks later. And when I joined the Air Force, I just listened to 3 other guys went in, and I stayed 20 years. They got out. They all deceased today. But I progressed through the military. I worked hard. I knew that that's the only way to achieve it. But because in high school, I was just an average guy that played in high school, made average grades, played football, no basketball, no baseball, just only football. But I got out, I graduated, didn't go to college. I went there in the Air Force, stayed 28 years in Wiesbaden, Germany, back in 1978. My son came home complaining about Black History Week. And and when he did that, that got my attention. He's a junior in high school. And what we did was, I went ahead on and we got Ebony and Jet magazines, and Essa magazine. We cut pictures out of those magazines. And when we did that, he took it to school. The school liked it, and then it gave me the idea. It's my squadron commander. So the picture up there to my right top, that's when we did the first exhibit on the military base, and then of course he did the exhibit at the school. So then I did it at a couple other bases, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I did an exhibit there. Then I moved back to Thomasville. I had less than 100 pieces, and what you see there, down in the lower bottom, my church, Providence Missionary Baptist Church, where I did my first exhibit of those 100 pieces. And I did that that was back in 85, 86, in the mid 90s. And then Then later on, the Douglas High School complex, that's a high school I graduated from right there in 1956. It became available, surplus to needs. School system, they just, after integration in 1970, when they integrated in 1970, it became a middle school for the black and white kids. So they traveled that school for about 15 years. And then finally, the board made a decision they was going to downgrade it to elementary school. The Douglas Alumni Association, we all organized in 95. We petitioned them to keep the school as a middle school for white and black kids, but it's now we're going to close and make an elementary school. And it stayed that up until 2001 as an elementary school, and the enrollment had dropped off, less than 200 kids. And the board made another decision, said we're going to sell this campus. And that's when the Douglas alumni, we stepped to the plate and we said, sell it to us. And then from that, they kicked it around and they sold it. They said, after 3 months of what y'all gonna do with the complex, we said, we're gonna have after school programs out here. We're gonna expand on the Jack Hatter Blackhistory Museum exhibit.
I love it.
And so once we got all that, got an operation, then they said, okay, we're gonna sell it to you. We own the whole complex.
Oh man, that's a good story.
So for $20, we own the whole complex. So now also in 2002, that's when I made a decision that I told the Douglas alumni, I want to use the building that you saw at the beginning of it as the museum. And so I rent that from the Douglas alumni. And that's where I house my 5,000, 6,000 artifacts in that one building. You know, so things have moved along real good. And like I said, I'm from a community that the whole of one second. That's what the museum looked like.
Yes.
As you walk in the museum there, that's in the first gallery. And that's right there. You see, that's the military gallery right there. You see the guns on the wall, but those uniforms you see, those belong to General Lloyd J. Austin, who was the second black to go to West Point from out of Thomasville, Georgia. He graduated from Thomasville High School here in 1971 and graduated West Point in 1975. And of course, that's Lieutenant Henry Flipper, who was the first black graduate of West Point, born a slave in 1856.
Yeah, I heard of him.
Thomasville, Georgia. And he went to West Point and graduated in 1875. Anyway, so Lieutenant Flipper, he's buried in Thomasville. There's a whole lot of story I can tell you about him.
Yeah.
And then, coach, and there's John Austin there as a cadet. And coach, today, John Austin, as you see, he's the Secretary of Defense. As he and his wife being sworn in with Vice President Harris. And then, coach, we got a section on the Buffalo Soldiers. We find that rifle you see on the wall there. That's my M1 rifle. It's a French rifle that was gifted to me when I was in Vietnam. And then, coach, that's the Dr. King exhibit that we got in the museum. We holler at him. And then, coach, we got a government exhibit in there also. And then those are child shackle chains you see right there that was used on slaves. Now, the sister pair of those chains in the National Museum of Washington, D.C. That the museum goes all the way back. We got you right now. I'm sitting in the first gallery, and the center gallery said DHS. That's the middle gallery. That's the local history. We'll show that in a few minutes. Then all the way in the far gallery is other areas, which is the third gallery.
I like it.
And then there's myself there when I graduated in my prom year. My wife and I back in 1956.
Whoa!
Last year prom.
You met your wife in high school.
Yes, we met in high school. So
man, that's a story. Oh man, oh boy, y'all look good too.
These are the first two black policemen in Thomasville, Cook and Flowers. They both back in the 1950s. They could only arrest blacks, could not arrest the whites. They could not go uptown to get their cars. Their cars were delivered to them at a filling station down on West Jackson Street. We got Jim Crow era, we got sports, we got movies and musicians, we got black women's, we got a religion exhibit, and then we got black women's that made a difference in our community.
Let me ask, what's the website?
The website is Jack Halley Black History Museum at Rose.net. Right. Jack Halley Black History Museum at Rose.net. So that gives you a quick briefing about the museum. We open here, we close right now, but people can call. We'll try to come in as much as possible. And Angela, I appreciate you sharing this with us. And I hope
appreciate
that this is what you want. And call me back.
Yep.
If you need clarification or anything.
Yep.
Thank you. But I definitely, before you release to the public, I really need to see what you're gonna put out there. Okay.
Yep. Hey, I appreciate you a whole lot. You are a big success. You are a big success, my brother. I appreciate you for being a big success. And so to my viewers, everybody, this is what we do on Strong Inspirations. I try to find successful people. Oh my God, and I found one in this brother for sure. Everybody hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's go down to this museum. Let's support him. And to you, my brother, I say this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind, because we love what you're doing, preserving that history in your hometown so that people across the world can know all the beauty that happened in your city and the beautiful person that you are. We're going to say that, and we're going to say bye-bye. We out.
Okay, thank you, man, very much. And so go to the website and click on it. Just send us a donation. Send us a donation. Send us a donation. We can show you some money because I got the Imperial Hotel. It's going to cost a lot of money to restore it back to its hectic days. Thank you.
Bye-bye.